This is Housatonic. Well, not exactly all of Housatonic. You see, I've lived here for almost my whole life, and this is how I've always seen Hoosie, just what it looks like today. Every day I pass by notable landmarks in Housatonic that I never take a second look at. The mills, the river, the buildings in the town, the water tower. I've come to a realization of how little I know about these landmarks, and how little I know of the town as a whole. And through this year of fact and fiction, one of the most important things I've learned is that I must do research and look in the past to understand these landmarks and understand Housatonic. And so that's exactly what I did. I started by going to the Ramsdale Library and found some books on the history of Housatonic. I searched online for any articles I could find and printed those that were suitable. I read, highlighted, and annotated. It didn't take me long to find a sufficient amount of information. Just a few articles and chapters of books helped me to understand Housatonic so much more. After the research that I have done, I can go through Housatonic and not only see the buildings and landmarks, but the in-depth histories of each. I pass by the mills and know they were once called the Monument Mills. I see each building and know it was here they produced cotton fabric. It was here they created fabrics for bedspreads. It was here passengers waited for their train, and it was here where the goods were stored and awaited delivery. I see the mills as history, as the economic powerhouse of Housatonic. I see the stories. I look at the mills and recall how a man once died from falling in a tub of boiling dye, his skin peeling off of him as he was rescued, only to die 16 hours later in the hospital. I pass over the river, a place I knew was polluted, but now know the full story of. I think of the natives that once floated down that river, until the white man interrupted their settlement, of how GE in Pittsfield ruined the river, dumping PCBs in its waters from 1932 to the mid-70s. I see why the few who fish the Housatonic never eat the fish they catch. I know of the cleanup of the river that started in 1999, and yet the river remains to be fully cleaned. I see Housatonic, dubbed Hoosie by the locals, and know how it was originally called something vastly different. It was first called Babylon, and when the Housatonic Manufacturing Company took over the mills, the town's name changed to Housatonic. I see the wildlife in Hoosie, and know how rattlesnakes once populated the land, frightening the locals. I see the Ramsdale Library, where I got most of my information, and know how it was built in 1908, and it still remains 110 years later. But mostly, I see Housatonic as a town shaped by centuries of history, hardships, and triumphs. Instead of lollygagging around my hometown, now I see it as it is. I see Housatonic in a whole new light. I see it in clarity.